At 3:17 a.m. in Brooklyn, I found my first piece of evidence. Not a note, not a kiss mark, not a hair on my jacket. A receipt from the Sunset Motor Inn, exit 13A, New Jersey Turnpike. 2 hours from our apartment. Paid for with a card in the name of my wife, Anna. Time: 11:42 p.m., room 214, late check-in. On the back, someone had written an R in ballpoint pen, like a period at the end of someone else's sentence. I held the thin thermal paper by the edge so as not to crumple it. My fingers trembled as if the room's heating had been turned off. Outside, the night air conditioner was wheezing and the fire escape was creaking. The apartment smelled of coffee from the evening and detergent from Trader Joe's. In the kitchen, the green light on the Verizon router was blinking. There was more order in this small stability than in me. Anna slept on her side, my hoodie pressed to her chest. Her hair was scattered on the pillow like threads that had escaped from a spool. When I first saw her in a statistics lecture at Columbia, my hands were shaking too, but then from excitement. Now from the fact that my brain had automatically turned on audit mode. I work as a financial controller for a logistics company in Red Hook. My trade is numbers, routes, timestamps, codes. I can find leaks where others can't even see a speck. So I didn't make a scene. I built a case, started with a simple one, a banking app, in transactions, Sunset Motor Inn, $129,999. 10 minutes before that, Shell, exit, 13A, 43 to 12. Even earlier, easied past toll. The route was self-explanatory. Brooklyn Bridge, I-278, New Jersey Turnpike, exit 13A. A simple road, usually chosen by those who don't want extra eyes. Next, I opened a shared family iCloud. When we got married, I set up automatic backups, photos, notes, AirTag geolocations. It was convenient, and as it turned out, fatally honest. On the map, Anna's iPhone at 10:09 p.m., in Elizabeth, NJ. At 11:37 p.m., near a motel. At 1:58 a.m., eastbound. At 2:44 a.m., Brooklyn. There's no point in convincing yourself that a man who drives off the turnpike at night does so for the sake of romance. But I didn't rush to conclusions. I've learned to hate rushing into reports and love into hypotheses. I put the kettle on but forgot to put the water in. I had to start it again. The tea boiled, then cooled. I sat on the edge of the bed, studying the receipt and the signature R. Who among our friends, clients, colleagues is called R? Roman? Roger? Ryan? A list ran through my head like a scanner at a Whole Foods checkout. The first rule of a controller is to not touch the primary evidence. I took a photo of the receipt on my phone in journaling mode with a timestamp. I put it in my work email in drafts, subject 214. This will happen to me. I always hide in numbers when I'm afraid of letters. At 6:20 a.m., Anna woke up. She stretched, smiled, as if it were a normal Thursday. Her marathon run across the Williamsburg Bridge. My Zoom meeting at 9, lunch together in Midtown, cheap tacos on the corner of 9th Ave. Everything seemed to be on the schedule of New York, which hates pauses. "Were you awake?" she asked. "Checking the budget," I replied. My voice was even. I needed 2 more hours of silence to finish the painting. She went to the shower, and I opened my laptop. Our company's delivery log is a map of the nervous system of the East Coast. Trucks, warehouses, delivery windows, waiting times, cameras on the ramps. I watched the footage from 2 fixed cameras in the parking lot near that Sunset Motor Inn. I had access because we used to set up a temporary warehouse there for seasonal deliveries. The footage was terrifyingly clear. At 11:39 p.m., a gray Camry with New York license plates, pulled up to the motel. A woman got out, a dark jacket, a hood, movements I could recognize in any crowd. She walked through the automatic reception door without looking back. A minute later, a man in a baseball cap appeared in the frame. He didn't touch her. He just followed her in. I couldn't see his face, instinct or coincidence, but he was looking down. At 8:05, I put a cup of coffee in front of Hannah. She was drying her hair with a towel. For a moment, I wanted to break down. Not count, not record, just say, I know everything. But I didn't. Are you running through Bedstay today? I asked. Over the bridge today, she said, and took a sip. She ran. I opened her laptop. We didn't set passwords for each other. Not out of romance, but out of laziness. In recents, a resume template, and a letter from a certain R11. Subject, contractor release form. I opened it. Nothing criminal. Legal abracadabra about terminating cooperation. Freelance design, signatures, EIN, some deadlines. But at the bottom of the letter, P.S., sorry for last night, call me when you're safe. And a number with the code +1, 973, New Jersey, R11. 11s in New York are like yellow cabs, but this one is from 973. I punched the number into our internal contact validation tool, useful when vetting contractors. Roman Levin, 36, Roselle Park, NJ, a small town between Elizabeth and Union. LinkedIn said, consultant, CHEW, loss prevention consultant in chain retail. And then something clicked. Loss prevention is my parish, just in a different store. The man who knows how to catch shoplifters and employees on left returns. We met at lunchtime near Flatiron. She came in with flushed cheeks from her run. I bought her a water. She said she couldn't learn the new route and forgot where the traffic lights were. We talked about small things. I looked at her hands, holding the bottle as if they were gripping the railing. Anna, I said, I want to show you something. I put the receipt on the table. She didn't pick it up. She just looked at it and took a slow breath. I can explain, she said. I nodded. She looked at me as if she were seeking my permission, not to lie, but to breathe. This isn't romance, she said. This is safety. I remained silent, not out of nobility, but out of professional curiosity. She continued. Do you remember my client from Brooklyn, from the jewelry store? His stones were disappearing. He swore it wasn't the employees. He said it was someone from outside. I asked a friend from New Jersey to look at their camera system. He works in loss prevention. Roman Levin. Yesterday he asked to meet out of town. He said he noticed strange connections to the cameras, and that it would be better to talk at a motel where there was no Wi-Fi. I went. Yes, to a motel. We sat at the reception, then in the room because it was crowded downstairs. We just talked, and he showed the recordings. That's it. It sounded like sin in a confessional, where the priest is the auditor. Every word was in its place. They were coming together in a logical line, and that's why I didn't believe it right away. Too smooth. Too right for the chaos I'd seen on the cameras that night. But I had no right to cut. Why sorry for last night? I asked. Because I left late. He was worried I would fall asleep at the wheel. I nodded. I wanted to believe it, and I didn't. It's a feeling familiar to anyone who has ever seen a double entry in the books of accounts. The same amount, two different stories. That evening, when she fell asleep, I called Roman Levin. He answered on the second ring. Roman is listening. This is Mark, Anna's husband. I'm listening. His voice was retail, even, tired, practical. The kind of person who persuades cashiers to write down the real reasons for returning goods. Yesterday at the motel, I want to know if she's lying. She's not lying. Pause. Did you meet in the room? Yes, because downstairs they were constantly coming in and out. Did you touch? No, I work with risks, Mark. The biggest risk is the client's husband. I didn't expect this directness. Do you have proof that she was there for work reasons? Yes, I have copies from the jewelry store's cameras. I can show them, but not the phone. Where? Tomorrow at 10. Newark Penn Station. Coffee shop in the lobby. I arrived early. Newark Penn is like an artery. All the blood of New Jersey beats in its platform. Roman sat down opposite. Shirt without a tie, tired eyes. He showed his laptop. The video shows boxes with inventory, hands putting packages away, people wearing masks from COVID habits, and someone who, as if accidentally, covers the camera with his shoulder, while another takes a small package from a box. Next are graphs of connections to cameras via remote access, IP addresses from hosting sites, night sessions, short forays. Then a stack of screenshots from one gray server, where someone kept copies of the recordings. Next to it is a printout with notes. Marco, look at 2311. Entrance from the alley. This is an employee. Your name is on the note, I said. I asked Anna if you could help with the process logic. She said you were a controller. I'm used to putting names on notes so people can see where their role is. Everything looked clean, and that's what made me wary again. Clean stories are like clean kitchens in restaurants. Either they've been cleaned to a shine, or no one's been cooking there. Be honest, I said. Did you sleep with her? No, I don't sleep with clients. With clients' wives, even more so. He looked straight ahead. I saw neither the glint of excitement nor the shadow of shame in his eyes, only the fatigue of someone who had been monitoring transactions all night. Do you have enemies? I asked. I work in loss prevention. My clients are networks, and my opponents are people who don't like to be caught. Did you write the name with an R on the receipt? No, I don't sign clients' receipts. It's dangerous for me. I went out onto the platform and stood there as the trains passed by. The air smelled of metal and coffee. I called Anna. I spoke to him. And he's convincing, because he doesn't lie. I wanted to end there, but I couldn't. Because in my work, persuasiveness is not proof. Proof is consistency. And in our story, there was a noise. The noise came from the camera in our driveway. A low-rise house on Guanus, old brick, a doorbell with a camera that I installed myself. I opened the archive from the night before, wanted to check the time of her return. At 02:44, yes, Anna enters, jacket, hood, the movements of a tired person. And 40 minutes later, 03:24, a shadow appears in the frame and disappears. Then, again, a few pixels lighter than the darkness. If I didn't work with video every day, I would have missed it. But I saw a third one. Someone was standing near our entrance, smoking. Then I picked up my phone, looked up, and the camera caught half a face, a jawline, a mustache, a Yankees baseball cap, and a scar under his right eye. I zoomed in. It went cold. I had seen the scar before, in a photo in a file I had worked on 3 years ago, a case about a left-wing return of goods in an electronics chain. At that time, an employee was swapping laptop boxes, selling equipment on the side. In my notes, he went by the name R. Soto. Roman Soto. Never caught. Part of his team fled to New Jersey. I checked. R. Soto and R. Levin are two different R's. But my receipt also had an R And a man in a Yankees baseball cap was smoking outside our driveway 40 minutes after Anna came home from the motel. I called Roman Levin again. Do you know Roman Soto? I know him from a case 3 years ago. Why? He was standing under my porch today at 0324. Are you sure? A scar under his eye. The pause became long. Then we have a problem, Mark, Levin said. Soto doesn't like having his business taken away from him. And if he's already near your house, he knows your wife is in business. My wife is a designer, I said. She's not in Soto's business. Don't kid yourself. If she went to look at my evidence yesterday, someone was watching. Soto knows how to watch. And if he's already at the door, he thinks you're both playing against him. At that moment, I caught my breath for the first time. Not from jealousy, but from the feeling that two cards had been dealt to me. Betrayal as an emotional risk, and stalking as a physical one. I got home early. Anna was sitting on the floor with her laptop, sorting through files. Screenshots from the jewelry store's cameras were flashing on the screen, the same ones I'd seen at Levin's. She was building a timeline, 11:11 p.m., the alley, 11:19 p.m., the shoulder in front of the camera, 11:20 p.m., the box is missing. Who is Roman Soto? I asked. She raised her head abruptly, as if someone had knocked on the door. Where did you get that name? On our cell. He was smoking under the door last night. Damn. She stood up, closed her laptop, and walked to the window. The yard looked the same as always. A blue trash can, a neighbor's bike, cats on the steps. New York provided a backdrop of normality that was convenient for hiding anomalies. Levin has an old enemy, Soto, she said. Levin has been thwarting his plans for years. And if we've taken on the jewelry business, then we've stepped on Soto's throat. We? I clarified. You and me. You're already inside. You've asked the questions that only someone who can't stop asks. She was right, and it was annoying. I wasn't signing contracts, but I was already gathering evidence. In this game, jealousy mixed with expertise. In the evening, I put a second motion sensor on the door. I turned on the notification on my phone, and I opened what I feared the most, her chat with Levin. I didn't read the letters, only the headlines and the time. At 0003, on the spot. At 0041, the conversation was interrupted. It's noisy downstairs. At 0122, let's go to the room. At 0203, I'm leaving. At 0246, home. No hearts, no kisses, no jokes. Dry. Too dry for me to believe in a night which could be called betrayal without a body, but with a taste. And yet I didn't close the tab. I looked at the times like one looks at an electrocardiogram. Were there any interruptions? At 11:12 p.m. the next night, I got a notification from my doorbell. Movement at the entrance. I opened the stream. In the frame was the same silhouette, the Yankees baseball cap, the scar. Soto. He wasn't smoking. He was just standing there, looking into the camera, as if to say hello. Then he put something thin, like a credit card, against the door. The lock clicked. He didn't come in. He was just showing what he could do. I called the police. They arrived 15 minutes later. Not bad for New York. The policeman looked at the door, shrugged. No break-in, no break-in, no report. But he picked the lock. Did you see it? On camera. The camera, not your eyes. Anna was silent. After the cops left, she was the first to speak. Do you want to know if I cheated? I want to know what they want to scare us for now. Because if it's jealousy, I can handle it. If it's business, then no. She sat down opposite and placed her hands on the table. palms up. Okay, in order. Yes, I hid the trip from you. Yes, I was with Roman Levin in the motel room. No, I didn't touch him. I went because I was afraid that the client had something big going on, and I wanted to solve it myself, without involving you. Because if I involve you, you'll go too far. And here we are. Why is there an R on the receipt? I don't know. I didn't sign it. At the reception desk, they sometimes add initials to the packages with key cards. Maybe it's the R for change. Or Soto, I said. He likes to sign other people's stories with his initial. The phone vibrated. Unknown number, code 973. I turned on the speakerphone. Mark, the voice said. Not Levin. Who is this? Where you look for romance, there's actually business. Where you look for business, there's romance. Soto? You can call me R. I like it short. Anna looked at me. I pressed record. What do you want? I asked. So that you stop making a family drama out of someone else's scheme, or vice versa, a scheme out of a family drama. You have a good eye for logs, but you're looking in the wrong place. Look back 13 days, at a transaction that doesn't fit into your habits. Which ones exactly? Try it yourself. You're the controller. The line went dead. I opened the bank. 13 days ago, Bloomingdale's, 000, test charge. Then, Apple Store, Soho, 100. Next, Backblaze, 000. Typical checks. But we haven't bought anything at Bloomingdale's in a long time. 0 entries. That's how banks check a card before charging. The next day, Atlantic Parking LLC, 18. We don't park in Manhattan, we take the subway. Another day later, NJ Transit, $5.50. Anna doesn't take NJ Transit. And the last one, Hudson News, $7.99 at 11:41 p.m. That's almost the time she arrived at the motel. Only Hudson News at train stations and airports. Anna, were you at the station yesterday? Yes. Newark Penn with Levin. The Hudson News put the time at 11:41 p.m. 13 days ago. I wasn't there then. So someone cloned the card or made test purchases to check the limit before a big charge. I ran my tools again. There was a video of Atlantic parking in the city's camera vault archive. Yes, contractors have one. A gray Camry with a different license plate than the one in our footage at the motel was parked in the parking lot. Different car, different driver, but the route was the same. R is trying to cast a shadow over us, I said. He planted the initial, rigged our purchases, turned on the betrayal scenario for us, so that we would burn up inside while he took the stones from the jewelry store. And if the betrayal still happened? She asked quietly. Then he won twice. Because while I'm figuring out what happened to us, he's doing what he planned. The doorbell rang. I rang the bell. On the screen was Roman Levin, alone, no baseball cap, no scars. In his hands was an envelope. Can I come in? He asked. Come in. He put the envelope on the table. It contained 2 photos. The first was from the motel camera. The reception desk, bright lights, hands visible on the counter. On Anna's wrist was a thin bracelet with a small pendant, a gift from my mother. The second was from the Atlantic parking lot 13 days ago. A gray Camry, the driver in a hood. On his wrist was the same bracelet. What is this? Anna asked. Her voice broke. Photoshop? I said, automatically. You can do a substitution. It's a live shot from the parking lot, Levin replied. I pulled it from a backup database that R didn't have access to. I don't know how your bracelet ended up on that man's hand. But I know that's what he wants Mark to see. Who is he? I asked. Not Soto. He's too rough for that. It's the work of someone who likes to tear people apart from the inside. The phone vibrated again. Now it was a message. No number. An image. A screenshot from our house's security camera. Anna and I in the kitchen, blurred figures, a receipt on the table. The caption, "Have a nice day, Mark." P.S. Real betrayal is rarely in bed. I looked out the window. The trees of Brooklyn rustled outside. I felt how my craft, letters, logs, time tags, became powerless when your home was already someone else's project. "Okay," I said. "Then our way." "Our way? What's that?" Anna asked. "Timeline, motive, access, control. We're building a model in which R has to make a move. And we're going to make him make that move, where we have eyes that he can't see." Levin nodded. "There's one trap that R can't avoid, if he really likes to balance family and crime." "What one?" "A wedding. A public place where everyone plays a role. The jeweler's niece's wedding is in Elizabeth on Saturday. Their entire network will be there. And if R works for one of them, he'll come see how we look together. He won't miss an opportunity to give the signal." "And if he's working against them?" asked Anna. "Then he'll come all the more, because he likes to watch it burn. I don't like public scenes, but I like well-tuned systems." I took out a notebook and wrote a heading. "Wedding. Saturday. Elizabeth. Observation points, routes, exits." Underneath it were 4 columns. Locations, cameras, people, roles. I wrote at the top, family, business. For a moment I forgot that Anna and I were here. Husband and wife, between whom hung the question of, did she cheat? We became a team, challenged by a faceless man. I felt fear replaced by clarity. It doesn't cure, but it gives me a tool. "Mark," Anna said quietly, "I want to tell you one more truth before we go to this wedding." "Tell me." "I lied to you once. Not yesterday. 2 years ago." I looked up. "In Boston, at a conference. I kissed a colleague in a hotel. No more. I went home and called it a mistake. We weren't then." She stopped. "We weren't then good. I'm not making excuses. It just is. And if the R plays on our shame, he can find that trace. Name? Ryan. R2. It was as if someone had shifted the scales to the opposite side. Now we had 3 R's, Levine, Soto, and Ryan, and 1 bracelet on someone else's wrist, and a motel receipt that wouldn't die. I closed the notebook. "Okay," I said. "Then on Saturday we'll see which R the public likes." On Friday night the doorbell picked up movement again. I rewound. In the frame was a note that someone had slipped under the door. In 1 sentence, in black marker. "Betrayal is when you choose not a person, but a version of yourself. See you on Saturday." I realized that I would have to not only set a trap, I would have to put myself in the line of fire. Because R is not playing with our things. He is playing with us. I turned off the kitchen light. The rustling of Brooklyn grew louder in the darkness. I sat by the window and waited for Saturday. On Saturday morning, New York looked as sleepy and cynical as ever. Coffee shops were digesting joggers, garbage trucks were overtaking taxis, and I, a person about to catch a ghost with the letter R, was checking the equipment list, as if I were going to a warehouse audit instead of a wedding. In the backpack, 3 AirTags with renamed identifiers so that they don't show unrecognized AirTag nearby on the iPhone to strangers. 2 replacement key fobs, a lapel microphone, a power bank, a small button camera with a lens under the shirt button, an official camera on a tripod for appearance to shoot happy moments, a notebook with my 4 columns, locations, cameras, people, roles, I don't like dressing up in costumes, but today the tie was part of the disguise. Elizabeth, New Jersey. The wedding hall is above an old banquet hall, where the ceiling is low and the lamps love gold. The family of the owner of the jewelry chain are people who know how to look family-like and at the same time keep their backs business-like. The hall smelled of coffee and floor spray, and there were name cards on the tables. Anna and Levin arrived separately, but entered almost simultaneously. Also a disguise. We are together, but formally each in our own role. Remember, Levin said, adjusting his cuff. R likes to show his teeth, but he doesn't like to bite in public. He'll make a move that looks like an accident. We need this accident to have an address. Are there cameras in the hall? I asked. There are. 2 internal network cameras, 1 external one at the entrance. The contractor is cautious, but we've already seen them in the file. My plan was simple. Give R a string and pull until it squeaks. The string turned out to be receipt number 214. I printed a copy of it on thermal paper, an authentic one, with the same character spacing, and carefully placed it in an envelope with gold monograms. On the envelope I wrote by hand, for R. Then I sat down in the far corner and opened my notebook, just so that the audience could see. I was reading something, absorbed in myself, but the envelope was visible from my jacket pocket. People greeted each other. The carpet swallowed their footsteps. In the next room, chairs creaked as they revised the seating plan. For a moment, I thought that all this was an exaggeration, a fictitious scene. But then, coincidence came running. A man in a suit, black and blue, no tie, a Yankees pin on his lapel. His jaw was sharp. Under his right eye was a barely visible scar. Soto. He didn't hide. He existed in the crowded space as his own. He went up to the bar, ordered a water. His gaze slid across the room and stopped for a moment on me. On the envelope. I looked up unintentionally. Very intentionally. A minute later, the bride's younger cousin approached me, introduced by the host. He asked me to help with the camera on the tripod. Oh, you have such a beautiful one. That's what I needed. I handed over the camera, leaving my jacket, with the envelope on the back of the chair. The envelope just exposed so far that the hand, which was used to accidental picking, could not resist. 30 seconds later, the envelope disappeared. I didn't raise an eyebrow. I just took out my phone. The AirTag 1 came to life on the map. Nothing special. On the back of the envelope, I placed a thin, cut-out strip from a micro AirTag in an aluminum cover. And on top of that, thermal paper. If R goes to read it outside the hall, I'll see. The little circle on the map moved into the corridor, then through the fire doors, down the stairs. I slowly stood up, pretending to be looking for the toilet. Anna, at the other end of the hall, was doing social work, talking to the bride's aunt, laughing, touching her bracelet, the same one that lived in my head as a separate anxiety. Levin was talking to the bride's father, nodding like a consultant, not too often to humiliate himself, and not too rarely to disappear. The stairs led down to the basement, a typical pocket of old banquet halls, cold concrete, bleached pipes, racks of napkins. It smelled of washing powder and floor gel. I heard a voice, not Soto's, smooth even, private, the voice of someone who knows how to speak into a microphone and knows how to leave no echo. For R. Seriously? Said the voice. He's the controller. He likes shortcuts. Another horse whispered. Take a look. And if there's a beacon there, If there's a beacon there, all the more interesting. Let's see where it leads us. I stood behind the rack and saw two shadows on the concrete. One was tall, thin. The other was more massive, warehouse-like. The tall one opened the envelope. He wrote something with a pen and put it back. Give it back to the guest. Let it spin. Footsteps. I retreated deep into the corridor to the pantry. The door there was old, with a window. Skladsky passed by. The envelope now without an AirTag. I felt my AirTag too vibrating in my pocket. I put the second one in the corner of the envelope and the first one in the paper. Tall stopped and looked for a moment through the window in the door, but the darkness was on my side. I waited until the footsteps had faded and picked up the AirTag one with a signal. The spinner stopped at the north exit near the rear parking lot. I got up and went upstairs. Meanwhile, the most beloved ritual of network families began in the hall. A general toast to family and business. Aunts straightened napkins. Uncles said, "We are like one team." The grooms smiled in the right places. I walked between the tables to the back door. The guard in a jacket with the words "Security" already knew me by sight. I had been walking everywhere with a camera since morning, so he was angry. In the parking lot, the wind smelled of wet asphalt. There was a car parked near the tailgate, a silver Camry. Not the same one, different license plates. On the trunk, dust-splattered letters, Garden State. Next to him, the same tall one from the basement, without a baseball cap, with short-cropped hair, an envelope in his hand. I approached within 5 sentences of an argument. "Forgot something?" I said. He smiled toothlessly. "On the contrary, I brought it." He held out the envelope. I took it. I felt it. Warm. On the back were the same gold monograms. On the flap, a small line from a fingernail. I opened it. Inside was my receipt and an additional line in ballpoint pen. R. Chalice Roll. "What does that mean?" I asked. "That you are looking for a person, but you should be looking for a role," he said calmly. "Today R is someone in the hall, tomorrow someone else. You attach labels through letters. He, through functions. Who are you?" "The one who delivers notes. Call me the courier." "Who's courier?" "The one who likes to watch the controller reek of impotence." He pointed at my shirt. I suddenly noticed that the button on the button wasn't my camera button. Mine was in my jacket pocket. I didn't have time to hook it on. So he just pointed at nothing, and I instinctively looked around. A good damn psychological trick. Make a person admit to themselves that they're naked. "Tell your R," I said, "that roles also have access limits. I like limits." "He knows," the courier smiled. "That's why he plays within your limits." He got in the Camry and drove off. I noted the license plate. According to the NJ Open database, the license plate led nowhere. A rental pool. No wonder. I returned to the hall. On stage, the bride's aunt was singing "My Way," and the groom's uncle was crying into a napkin. Anna was standing in the hallway by the mirror, touching her bracelet. She couldn't get used to this movement. "Arbach's roll," I said, showing the note. "He's kidding," she replied. "In my world, rolls are convenient labels for briefs. In his, they're masks." Levin came over with a glass of water. "Did we catch something?" "R is not a person," I said. "R is a role. Today, Levin can play that role, tomorrow Soto, the day after tomorrow Ryan, and that's the explanation for the bracelet on someone else's arm. The role of Anna can be played. The bracelet is a prop, just like receipt 214. Then look not for who did it, but for who was allowed to play like that, Levin said. Who has access to all the props, cameras, halls, contractors, rentals, banquets? He looked into my eyes as if he wanted to say something more, but stopped. I remembered his previous answer. The biggest risk is the client's husband. Perhaps the biggest risk is a consultant who knows where all your knots are. The host called the guests to the photo corner. A Polaroid, a flower arch, artificial smoke, everything needed for R to choose a perspective. I stood next to Anna. We took 3 shots, serious, funny, kissing on the cheek. In the third, I saw a figure in the reflective windows with a Yankees baseball cap. Soto. He wasn't looking at us. At the mirror behind him, where the table with the guests' bags was reflected. He's waiting, whispered Anna, for an accidental loss. Where? In the area where guests are asked to leave their phones for a second to take a photo, so that their hands are free. I turned around and saw a sign. Please leave your phone in the tray for a moment. On the table were 2 plastic plates for phones. The camera on top was for security, and under the table was a black NFC scanner connected to a power bank. R didn't collect phones. He collected access tokens. He didn't have to worry about phones, copy key cards, or touch our Hudson News 7999. A test charge on a replacement card was enough. We're taking the plates, I said, and took one from the edge. The host was already running towards me. Sir, you can't. This is part of... Part of what? I asked quietly, but in a way that made him stop. Part of the role. Who has the key to this room? He blinked. He turned pale. He pointed towards the admin area. There, behind the door, stood a woman in a dark jacket, the hall coordinator. Arms crossed, shoulders straight, the administrator. A role that has access to everything. Cameras, lights, plates, guest lists. Who are you? I asked, showing my badge. I made myself a small rectangle with the words media written on it. It's a universal pass in these places. The manager of the banquet hall, she said evenly. Do you have a question? Yes. Who put this up? I pointed to the scanner under the table. I don't know what it is. She answered so quickly that the answer sounded like a rehearsal. Behind her back, I saw an open technical room. In it was a cabinet with switches, patch panels with the labels, Hall 1 Cam A, Hall 1 Cam B, Entrance Cam. On one of the ports, an unknown light was blinking, a small black box with 4 ports, connected by an unmarked cable. Let's turn off the power, I told Levin. Let R feel that we can see his fence. If we turn it off, he'll leave, he replied. He'll disappear from the frame, and we'll lose the thread. If we leave it on, he'll remove the tokens from all the guests. He's already removed them, Anna said quietly. While we're arguing, he's working. At that moment, the first dance was announced. The hall darkened, the speakers bent to the music, the phones rose into the air. In the semi-darkness, I saw the coordinator lean over the table, straightening her napkin. In fact, she pressed a button on the scanner's power bank. A light click, and it came to life. I took a step forward and felt a hand on my shoulder. Soto. He was standing close enough for me to smell his menthol cigarettes, but not so close that it looked threatening to the camera. Leave it, he whispered. This show is not for you. For whom then? For someone who likes to balance. R. Not me, and not you. R. The choice that the access sources make. You mean the coordinator? You mean the owner? You mean that the jeweler's family— I mean that if someone allowed someone else to bring someone else's candle and someone else's scanner into the hall, it was not me and it was not you. It was the one who signed the bills. R is also receipt mark. I took a breath. The script flipped. If R is a roll and a receipt invoice, then my search for the man with the letter is child's play. I had to look at the contours of the money. Who was interested in the chain losing part of the inventory, writing it off as unknown thefts, paying out insurance, changing contractors? Who makes money on risk? The lights came back on. Applause. The music changed to everyone on the dance floor. I stepped back into the shadows and dialed Levin's number. I didn't have time. His phone rang by itself. He held up a finger. Wait a second. He stepped aside. I saw his profile. Someone who was used to hearing bad news. He listened, nodded, said, "I understand," and hung up. "What?" I asked. "The jewelry store is taking inventory." Suddenly, today, while everyone is here. Who gave the order? The owner. He says that information about the leak has arrived. We received it. Or he tricked us and is making us run after him, Levin answered dryly. Meanwhile, the coordinator signaled the waiter. He brought a tray with envelopes. One was for us. I tore it open. Inside was a photocopy of a receipt with the insurance company's stamp. Preliminary approval for payment for network losses. The date was a week ago. That is, before our discoveries. Someone had already made an agreement while we were just building the timeline. "This is a trap for us," I said. "As soon as we help find the leak, they'll trigger the insurance trigger and close the hole to their advantage. And they'll blame unknowns on the outside," Hannah added. R here literally means a receipt for money. "Then we need a false positive," I said, "to bring R out of the shadows so that he takes a step outside the script." I opened the notebook and wrote, "False target, Ryan." If R is a role, we can suggest an alternative role, old, truthful, shameful, the one that bites me from the inside. I took off my watch and put my AirTag 3 in Anna's jacket pocket. It was set to actively search. If it was moved in the admin zone, I would see it. "What are you doing?" asked Anna. "I'm putting weakness. R likes it when we're weak." "Are you using me as bait?" "Using us? Because R has been using us for a day." In the hallway backstage, I dialed Ryan, the same kiss from Boston, my private R. I found him on LinkedIn, got the phone through corporate email with the signature Urgent Vendor Ref. When he picked up the phone, I said straight out, "This is Mark, Anna's husband. I know what happened in Boston." A pause. "It was a long time ago," he said quietly. "You need to text Anna at 8 today. I'm at the entrance. I need to see you for a minute." "Why?" "Because they're cutting us alive, and your role today is to stop the cutting. I don't want her to hurt. She's already hurting. Me too. And it's good for someone. Will you help me?" "I will." I felt shame, pure as alcohol. But shame is also a tool, if you know where not to spill it. At 7:58 p.m., Hannah's phone rang. She looked at the screen, at me, and her eyes held everything at once. Anger, fatigue, trust, and that unjustified thing for which I was ready to stand here in someone else's suit. "He wrote," she said. "Go, but not alone. Go out into the hallway, to the right door. I'll be on the left. Levin is at the end. The coordinator will show up herself if she's on duty. Soto will take the perimeter." She nodded and left. I gave Levin a sign, clasping 2 fingers. "Ready." He disappeared into the shadows. I stood in the left opening, so that I could see the mirror. In the reflection, I could see everything. Anna at the door, the man approaching from the hall. Ryan is tall, blonde, nervous. And the coordinator who came out of the admin room, clutching the remote control in her hand. Ryan stopped 2 steps away from Anna. They did not touch. The coordinator took a step and pressed the button. The lights in the hall flashed, the music gasped, and became quieter. That very moment was perfect for an accidental touch on the table with phones, for relocating tokens, for starting a script. "Now," I whispered, "take it off." Levin was already at the table. In one motion he pulled out the power bank with the scanner and raised it above his head like an arbitrator. "And here is the key to your coincidence," he said aloud. People turned. The coordinator froze in mid-step, the remote in her hand. Soto, in the doorway, covered his mouth with his hand from laughter. Ryan took a step back, instinctively. "What is this?" one of the relatives shouted. "The thing that copies your NFC tokens and signs other people's receipts," Levin replied quietly. "The thing that makes the insurance company love you more than people." The coordinator shrugged her shoulders in the official line. "This is poison. You have no right." "I have the right," I said, "because it concerns me, because this game was launched in my house." She tried to leave. I took a step and blocked the passage. I felt a vibration in my pocket. The AirTag 3 was moving, not in my pocket, in someone else's. I set my watch to admin closet. Someone in the technical room was already rattling cables, pulling out a switch. "Levin, the technical room," I shouted. He rushed. I followed him. In the closet were the train of dresses hanging like vines. On the floor was a black box, almost pulled out. And above it was not the coordinator, the father of the bride. His jacket was off, his sleeves rolled up. His eyes were cold, like those of a person who had been doing ugly things beautifully for a long time. "Close the door," he told me, as if we had already agreed. "Everything here is business." "Whose business?" I asked. "Mine," he said, as if he were naming the weather. "You don't know how to calculate risk. You know how to catch people, and I know how to collect interest." "Because of insurance?" "Because of roles. Today the thief is our guy in the warehouse. Tomorrow the thief is the camera supplier. The day after tomorrow the thief is a consultant who overstepped his authority. Insurance pays for the model, not for morality." "R is you," I said. "R is the right, and the receipt, and the role. I am only the one who puts the seal." Levin stood to the side, holding the scanner. His face had the expression of someone who had finally seen the source of the losses and realized that it wasn't outside. "Why my wife?" I asked. My voice was hoarse. "Why my home?" "Because you're a controller," he said. "Because you're stubborn and honest. Because you're the perfect target for the betrayal game. While you're jealous, I'm signing receipts. While you're building a timeline, I'm cleaning up logistical messes. While you're catching R as a person, I'm switching roles." He pulled the cord, and the light went out. At that moment, Soto appeared in the doorway. He leaned on his shoulder. He smiled with the same menthol smell. "Your script is broken," Soto told the bride's father. "The audience saw too much." "The audience saw the show," he replied. "And the show is always part of the budget." "So what next?" Levin asked. "Next, you go out into the hall," said the bride's father, "and celebrate. And tomorrow, we'll talk officially. Within the framework of loss prevention. You like contracts, don't you, Mr. Levin?" And winked. A subtle, nasty thing. When people laugh at you, who have all the documentation on their side, seals, invoices, insurance, they don't run away. They recite the script out loud so that you suffocate from powerlessness. I looked at Levin. He nodded a faint no. At Anna, who was standing in the doorway, clenching her fists. At Soto, he looked like someone who wanted to drink at someone else's expense and see how everyone was in bad taste. Okay, I said. Then we'll play their game. I pulled out my phone. I opened the live camera from my doorbell in Brooklyn, a saved stream. On the screen was a fresh image of our kitchen and a hand placing another envelope on the table. The camera picked up the sound, a short laugh and a phrase, recorded clearly, without noise. Betrayal is when you forgive something that is still going on. I raised my head. Who's in my house now? I asked. No one answered. Soto stopped smiling. Levin turned pale. Anna took a step toward me and whispered, My bracelet is at home. I left it on the sink. In the video, it's on someone else's hand, I replied. In the video, it's a roll, and at home we are. I pressed a button on my phone and turned on the siren, my backup, from the connected smart switch. The alarm went off in Brooklyn. On the live video screen, the hand disappeared. The camera angle shifted. The image cut off. They went deeper, Levin said. R. Has two fronts. Here it's a horror show. There it's a psychological one. And they were wrong anyway, I said. I still have that old analog camera in my house that you gave up 3 years ago. It writes to a local drive, not the cloud. And none of them know where it is. I looked at the bride's father. He stared. But for a second, a micro crack appeared. He was used to managing digital flows, not hardware. Rolls, receipts, seals, his element. Local coincidences, ours. Tomorrow at 7 in the morning, I said. You, me, Levin, disk, camera. If your courier is on the video, we're going to the police not for hacking, but for insurance fraud. And also to the press. I can write clear timelines. You risk breaking up the family, he said flatly. You've already done it, I replied. You just thought I wouldn't notice because I was busy with my own jealousy. Anna touched my hand. Quietly. Mark. I know, I said. We are not finished with us. But we will not let them write our history with receipts. We returned to the hall. The music was loud again. Soto melted into the crowd. The coordinator brought the cake as if nothing had happened. The father of the bride raised his glass and said, To love and trust. The people applauded. I looked at Anna. Everything that makes us alive was mixed on her face. Guilt, anger, fear, determination. I thought that cheating wife is not a genre. It is a function that someone can conveniently attach to control someone else's hands. But inside this function, we, the living, are uncomfortable, imperfect. As we were leaving the hall, a courier in a black coat appeared from the shadows and handed me another envelope. He smiled. Last one for today. You like working with papers? I said. Paper is the most honest of liars, he replied. I opened the envelope in the car. Inside was a photo from tomorrow's newspaper. On the front page was the headline, Loss Prevention Consultant Suspected of Collusion with Insurance. The photo was of Levin, taken today, at the scanner table, signed R. Levin. They're setting you up, I told Levin. They're always one step ahead in the public version, he replied. But I like the private ones. 7 in the morning, I said. Our analog disc. 7, he confirmed. We drove off with Elizabeth. The turnpike floated by outside the window, rivers of headlights, reflections of light on the wet asphalt. Brooklyn awaited us with the wail of a siren that gradually died away. I felt something change inside me. Jealousy had not disappeared, but it was no longer the steering wheel. Now it was just noise in the system that needed to be filtered out. In front of the bridge, Anna said, "I'll tell you everything, even the things that hurt." "You'll tell me tomorrow," I replied, "when we see who was in our house." I stepped on the gas. 7 in the morning was already waiting for us ahead, like a checkpoint, like the moment when the role would cease to be a faceless person. At 06:52, I was already standing in the kitchen, where the refrigerator hummed like an old generator, and the window showed Brooklyn the color of burnt concrete. I turned off the siren remotely from the highway, but the apartment still smelled of ozone. My smart siren liked to leave a scent behind it, like a dog, a tag. The chair at the table was shifted a few centimeters, not much, enough to make me hiccup professionally. Someone else's hand was working here without panic. Levin came in at exactly 7 without knocking. I had warned the concierge. Anna came out of the shower with wet hair and the expression of someone ready to speak, but wanting to lean on a fact, like a railing. "Where is your analog?" Levin asked, without preamble. "Where laziness defeats the thief," I said. I pushed the stove towards me, a few centimeters, then pry up the lower decorative border. Behind it is a metal pocket that I fixed 2 years ago when our first NVR broke, and we had to hang a temporary analog camera for a friend's baby camera. I just didn't take it off. Laziness is a terrible security driver. In the pocket is a small DVR the size of 2 packs of cigarettes, a 256-gigabyte memory card, and a diode that flickered faintly, like the polar star in a refrigerator. I connected the DVR to my laptop with a cable, launched an ancient utility that hasn't been updated since 2017. The interface is like a cash register at a cheap diner. Gray, ugly, honest, 3 channels, door, kitchen, window. I scroll to yesterday. 03:02, the kitchen is empty. 03:21, a shadow in the hallway. 03:24, a hand in the frame. I zoomed in. The hand is in a glove, but the manner is like that of a person who knows how to cut boxes. The thumb and index finger work together, without a pinch. On the back of the wrist, a dark mark, like a watch band, only wider. No bracelet. "Stumbling block," I said. In the photo from the parking lot, there's a bracelet on the driver's hand. In the video from my kitchen, there's a clean wrist. So the photo is either fake or from another day, or taken by an actor in props. "Or there was a different person in your house than in the parking lot," Levin added. "There are at least 2 people playing the role of R." I scrolled to Yo325. The figure in the corridor walks into the kitchen, without haste, bends over, puts the envelope on the table, steps back a little, turns to the camera and stops. For a second or two, as if looking. But the face is behind a cap, the visor is low. Height is about the same as mine. Shoulders are narrow. Movements are without panic. Then he reaches for the corner where the smart siren socket is, and the switch clicks. The siren does not turn on, because I activated it from the car when we left the hall. The person leans over my kettle, sniffs, stops, leaves the kitchen. 03:27, door. 03:28, silence. "Kitchen sniffer," said Levin dryly. "Are you laughing?" "No, it's a detail. A person who sniffs the kettle feels at home. He knows that the kettle is the source of odors. Or he knows that I think so," I answered. "And he plays my related chips to inject himself into the homebody." The gestures are neat, Anna said, leaning against the table. Like when I put an envelope on the table. You didn't come in, I said. I've left this house so many times at night that I can do it with my eyes closed. I won't say I'm not capable of betrayal. I hate that phrase. I'll put it another way. I wasn't playing the role they're writing now. Not now. Not with him. I took a freeze frame at the moment when the figure stops facing the camera. You can barely see the scar under his eye? No, there's no scar there. The cap has no logo. The mustache? No. The chin is clean. The Soto is gone. Ryan? He has a habit of touching the bridge of his nose. Here, his hand is down. Levin? No. The shoulders are not the same. The courier? Maybe. The father of the bride? The dimensions don't match. He knew about the analog, said Levin. He looked in the corner, not at the cloud, at the iron. Someone who once worked in old stores with tube cameras. The role of warehouse manager from 2010. I nodded. Who in our puzzle had such a past? The bride's father, from the younger generation. He's a business from the laboratory. The coordinator, she's from a banquet chain, where digitalization has been around since birth. Soto, he's old enough, but he's missing a scar. And if the scar's makeup? Said Anna. Yesterday we also played a role. We were silent for a second. The role assignments were spinning in my head. Everything they did to us was based on my instincts as a controller. To notice an inconsistency, to find an exception in the data, and put a marker on it. R made me look for the person, not the process, because a person is easier to manipulate. A process is either shaken or broken. We're going to the police, said Levin. But not to the police station, but to the insurance fraud department. And with the fact that we have an analog, two versions of the same bracelet, and inconsistent timelines. Plus, the NFC scanner at the wedding, I added, and the inscription RFX roll in their hand. Lawyers will say that this is not evidence, but context is also language. We quickly packed our things. Before leaving, I stopped and looked at Anna. After the station, we'll talk. That's it. No edits. Okay, she said, because I can't stand another R speaking for me. The insurance fraud division in New York City looks like an accounting office that has survived several harvests of coffee and carpet tiles. Detective Kelly is short, stocky, with a scythe, and a hushed voice. She looked at our materials like a barista would at a customer who ordered a double latte without foam, but without milk. In short, she said, I laid out the timeline. Motel, receipt, 2:14. Soto in the driveway, wedding, scanner, father of the bride in the tech room, 7 in the morning, analog video, arm without bracelet. She didn't interrupt. She only raised an eyebrow once when I said, analog. I love it when people forget old hardware, she said. It's often more honest than the cloud. The chain of custody sect cries a lot, but if the time, place, entry, exit match, it works in court. Can you search the banquet hall and the jeweler? Levin asked. If I have a direct financial trigger, she said, that is, a tie to an insurance payout, and if we can show that someone intentionally collected the tokens, not just accidentally plugged in a power bank, and I need a second front. Who is the recipient of the money? I have a copy of the insurance company's preliminary approval for payment, I said, showing the printout from the envelope. The date is before the wedding. Where did you get the copy? Their courier brought it. Great, Kelly grimaced. I like it when the defendants bring their own bad things. She took photos of the documents, asked for a copy of the video from the analog, wrote out a case number for us, gave us brief instructions. Don't run to the press until we catch the camera contractor alive. Be prepared that they will play the family card against you. We signed an explanation. I felt the same taste in my mouth that I had once when we were digging up the fictitious return of laptops. Coffee, bitter, convincing. On the way out, my phone vibrated. Unknown number, 973. I answered. Analog is nice, said the voice, quiet even, like a night avenue. But you forgot the rules of the game. What are they? If there's a gun on the stage, it will fire. If there's a camera in your house, it will be seen. I left you another gift. On the windowsill. I ended the call, and we ran to the car. The drive to Brooklyn took 20 minutes, measured by the muffled voices of Waze and my rapid breathing. In the apartment, I saw a gift, a crumpled bracelet box. Inside was a handwritten note. 2 years ago. Also a receipt. C. R. And a check. Boston Marriott. Room service. 1875. 02:13 a.m. The date of the same evening when Anna confessed about the kiss. He's playing with your guilt, Levin said. He's playing with our memory, I replied. And he wants me to build the wrong model. Listen, Anna said. 2 minutes without them. She glanced at the door as if someone were watching us, and still spoke. I did something stupid in Boston. I was mad at you. You lived in the Excel back then, not with me. I drank. Ryan and I kissed in the elevator. Nothing in the room. At 2:13 a.m., I ordered tea and cookies and sat down to stare at the ceiling. I don't want anyone writing this for me with checks. I can go over every detail of that night. But now write one thing down. I didn't cheat on you with Levin. I didn't sleep with him. I didn't dream about it. I went to a motel yesterday, and it was wrong because I hid it from you. But I went to work. Okay, I said. I wrote it down. And I showed her the notebook, which read Boston 2:13 a.m. room service, tea, cookies. In our model, this is not a betrayal. It is a vulnerability factor that R uses like a candle in oil. I pushed the box with the bracelet aside and saw another piece of paper. A screenshot of a fake motel video. It showed a tall, familiar figure entering room 214. On my wrist was my hoodie. The hoodie with the tear-off tag that I had put in the laundry 3 weeks ago and never found. At the top it said, check in at 11:41 p.m. Check out at 2:03 a.m. They're not stupid, I said calmly. They steal symbols and stick them to the time that feels right. They want me to see myself in their video, to believe it, to shoot myself. The phone vibrated again. Now, a message with a link to the news. Security consultant suspected of insurance manipulation. Investigation ongoing. Photo. Levin from yesterday's wedding holding a scanner. Credit. Readers. We got a PR job. Give me an hour, Levin said. I need to get into a few old databases before they block them. I'll try to use the IP switches to find out where the internal connections to those cameras came from. If the technical room was mirroring the stream somewhere, we'll have a specific server. And in that time, I'll do something they don't expect, I said. A public timeline, no names, no addresses, just events and metadata. For the insurance company and the department. If they want to play family, I'll play on reputation. I sat down and wrote what I do best. Clearly. 1. 03-2017. Receipt. 214. Sunset Motor Inn, NJ. 2. 23-39. 2.03. Anna's route. From billing, Easy Pass, Shell. 3. 0003-421-223-246. Time beacons of her correspondence with Levine. 4. 3:24. Figure at our door, scar under eye. Soto. 5. Wedding. NFC scanner in the photo zone. Noted coordinator, remote control, black candle in the technical room. 6. The bride's father is in the technical room with the train. Witnesses. Me, Levin. 7. Analog. 03 24. 03 28. A figure without a bracelet, without a scar, the habits of a warehouse from the 2010s. 8. A letter from the insurance company is a preliminary agreement to pay before the wedding. 9. Coincidence of symbols, photo bracelet on someone else's hand, video from the kitchen. My skinny jeans in the video from the motel. Signs of staging. 10. Hypothesis, R. Role, receipt, right. Model, staged betrayal as a smokescreen for the insurance calendar. I exported it to PDF, signed it with a digital key, and sent it to Kelly and the insurance compliance department with the title, Synchronization Anomalies and Signs of Coordinated Manipulation. No press, just channels that are afraid of the word compliance. 20 minutes later, a short letter from the insurance company arrived. Received. Pre-approval. Suspended pending clarification. No press contact. Thank you. A small victory. I felt my inner engine running more smoothly. They're going to get tough, Levin said. If they stop the payment, they've ruined someone's calendar. I know, I replied. I like calendars too. At 12:14, Kelly called. We have a warrant for the banquet hall's technical room. We already have the camera contractor. Their IT guys are coming. Your analog and PDF made the weather. We're moving, I said, but R won't go away. He likes scenes. He'll make another one, Anna said, looking out the window. Not where we're waiting, where it hurts. At 4:03 p.m., I was made to suffer right on the street. I left the house to get coffee, and a courier was waiting for me at the corner of the bodega. Without a coat, in a hoodie, not someone else's, mine, the same one who disappeared from the laundry 3 weeks ago. I'll return it, he said, and held out the hoodie. The size didn't fit. Quiet here, I answered. Tell me, why are we even talking? Because your compliance has spoiled people's mood. And what will happen next? Next, you will understand that betrayal is the most reliable key. People don't want facts. They want a story in which someone close to them is to blame. And what? You will put the video from the motel on the internet. If so, it will be a quiet leak. Without our label. You love metadata. And you love percentages. Everyone loves it. At least once, name a name. I'll call the function custodian of loss, guardian of losses. That sounds nice, doesn't it? He smiled. In our city, losses are guarded most carefully. He gave me the hoodie and left. I looked at him like a fox leaving the hen house, not because it was full, but because it had had enough for now. I picked up the hoodie. There was a stripe of something black on the cuff, like old paint. On the sleeve were 2 threads that I recognized immediately. Gold. The same threads that were used to pull the wedding cake cover together. The small thread leads back to the large room. I brought the hoodie home. Anna took it, looked at the thread, and said, I saw these in the storage room in the hall. Rolls of fabric for the backdrop. So the courier was backstage at the wedding. Not a guest. His own. And his own means we have a list. I opened the People Roles Hall section in my notebook. I ran through the supplier logs, service, security, coordinator, plus 2 assistants, florists, catering, DJ, photographer, plus assistant, videographer. The photographer's assistant is a person who stands everywhere, takes guests' phones for a second, carries backgrounds, threads, knows where the batteries are, helps with lights, has an excuse to be in the technical room. Name? Asked Anna. In the contract, R. Keller. We looked at each other silently. R. It doesn't have to be Roman, she said. It's a template. Role. I nodded. Arphasis roll. Today, Keller. Yesterday, Levin. Tomorrow, anyone. I pushed my request through a cascade of acquaintances, and within an hour I had more. Ryan Keller, 29, assistant photographer, worked with 10 banquet halls previously, merchandiser at a large electronics chain. Hello, warehouse habits. A year ago, a short contract at the same jewelry chain as a freelance photo advertising. A match that gets a bold marker in my reports. At 6:22 p.m., Kelly called. There's an illegal switch in the hall's technical room with a log of connections to 3 external IPs, one from the station's provider, and the line goes to a server in New Jersey. Host? Hudson Systems, LLC. Hudson News, 799. 13 days ago, I said. Test ping. Their poetics are penetrating, damn it. We'll take them tomorrow. We'll check Hudson Systems. If it's a dummy, we'll put pressure on the camera contractor. Send us a copy of the letters from the bride's father to the contractor, Levin added. If there's a budget adjustment in there a week before the wedding, that's the intention. We've already asked, Kelly said. At 8:04 p.m., the last blow of the day came. In the mail, an anonymous doc, a link to Drive. I open it in preview. I don't download it. The video is from the camera of motel number 214. Static. Angle of view of the bed, the table, the door. At 12:51 a.m., Anna enters the room. Behind her, me. Or rather, as someone in my skin with my posture, my habit of leaning my shoulder on the doorframe. At 1:07 a.m., we kiss. I place my hand on the back of her head exactly as I place it. At 1:29 a.m., I get out of the bathroom. At 1:51 a.m., I get out of the bathroom in a hood, tall, but a hand. On me's wrist, a watch that I don't have. The left dominant hand is atypical for me. They made you out of fragments, said Anna evenly. They took your plastic, your habit, and added what is not there, a watch, a hood in the number. Or they took 2 pictures. Me, somewhere else, on a different day, and put them together. Rewind to 10:43 p.m. I rewound. The camera holds an empty number. In the corner is a TV. On it is the news. At the bottom is a tape running, Mets beat Nationals 8-1 Monday. Only yesterday was Thursday. Their film takes Monday. They always lose time, I said. You can't stick a calendar together with tape. I wrote Kelly a short message. Video 214, composite. In the frame is a TV tape with Monday, our night is Thursday. Editing instructions, left-handedness me, foreign clock. I sent the screenshot. I disconnected. I need the truth, Anna said, and her voice finally broke, not on the stone of anger, but on our family sound. I betrayed you 2 years ago, not with my body, with silence. I let others talk about me without me. Yesterday I continued it. I left without you. If you want, we'll go our separate ways. I can't stand it if you live inside this timeline where I'm always a suspect. But I'll go with the truth, not with their R. I listened. And I felt both my hands, the working one and the jealous one, finally surrender. Not to each other, to the facts. I wasn't hurt by the betrayal as a politician. I was hurt by the fact that our history had been stolen and turned into a set for someone's insurance stunt. We're not finished, I said. But today, we're giving it our time. Tomorrow is up to us. If after tomorrow we can still talk, we will. If not, we'll have an honest record. I barely slept at night. In the morning, the operative. Kelly wrote that they took the light with a warrant, blinded traffic on Hudson Systems, pulled out the account of the photographer's assistant, Ryan Keller, on whose laptop they found a fake timeline of client videos with changed dates. The bride's father refused. "I don't know anything." The hall administration bore full responsibility. The coordinator. I fulfilled the client's security requirements. The system's favorite aria. Full responsibility without a signature. "I have another trap for you on R," Kelly said into the phone. "We have an arrest for Keller, but R loves the public. Do you want to see him show himself?" "I do." "At 1 now p.m., they're going to finish their inventory. We're going to lock down the warehouse, and they need someone who knows everything and can set it up. They're going to call one of the R's. We're going to fake the number. Your voice is yours." "Mine? Didn't I tell you? I have a clean sample of your 3 phrases from your analog video from yesterday." "Okay, let's get started. Where's the light?" "That's enough to open the door for us, if they're stupid." "They're not stupid," I said. "They're cocky." At 12:58, the phone rang. The number was the jewelry store's office. "Mark?" The voice was sonorous. "I'm the owner." "Okay," I said, holding the button for Kelly to write a log. "Let's start the inventory. Where's the candle?" "Where's the candle?" I repeated. And that was enough for someone on the other end, in the other room, to nod and say, "Take the technician to the technical room. He's ours." Kelly's recording shows the electronic lock clicking. We arrived in 10 minutes. The police were already standing at the back entrance. Inside, running around, voices. In the technical room, Keller is trying to pull out the second candle. His hands are running like mice. The coordinator shouts, "I had nothing to do with it." The father, silent as concrete. "You're under arrest for tampering with video surveillance systems, trespassing, and complicity in insurance fraud," Kelly said in plain language. "I'm a photographer," Keller said, looking his age for the first time. "I was paid for the background." "You were paid for the role," I said. "R. Keller." "I'm not R," he whispered. "I know. The role, yes." As he was being led away, he looked back and said to me, "She cheated." "You have no right to use that verb," I replied. "You're a decorator. With things, not with people." Kelly pulled a candle from the cupboard. The inspector took a picture of everything, like a monk copying the Bible. Levin stood off to the side, and for the first time in days there was no fatigue on his face, only concentration. When it was all over, we went outside. The sky was as pale as a 0.0 check. "It's going to be a long time," Kelly said. "Lawyers, arbitration, insurance. I won't be around when you talk about the two of you. But I will say this as someone without romance. Cheating is not an event. It's an access model. Either you set the boundaries and you both sign them, or someone else signs the receipt for you." Anna and I stayed on the sidewalk. The cars were floating by. New York, as always, kept going. "I want boundaries," she said. "And I want to speak. Not as a role, as a person." "Tonight," I said. "No phones, no cameras, and no R." "The R is always around," I said. "But we can learn not to give it a role in our script." At home, we sat down at the table, where the envelope with R. Gau's role was still lying. I took out a pen and wrote S. Gau's story on it. "They wrote versions," I said. "We will write the story, even if it contains unpleasant facts. All the more so." The phone vibrated. A message without a number. Receipt or release? Receipt or release? I felt a trained hand reach for the binding, to tick the release or receipt box in my internal software. But there was a person sitting next to me, not a role. I put the phone down, screen down. "I'm sorry," Anna said. "For Boston, for yesterday, for letting them use me. I'm sorry," I said, "for living in the logs and leaving you next to an empty place, for loving control more than conversation. We can try. We can try." I opened the window. The smell of raw brick rose from the yard. Somewhere in the neighbor's house, a kettle started. Somewhere in the distance, a train roared. Our city was returning to its role. We were returning to ours. There was a bracelet on the dresser. Real. Cold. I took it and put it in the drawer. No symbols. Just a thing. A letter from the insurance company flashed in the mail. "Your timeline has been added to the case. Payment has been suspended pending the completion of the investigation. Thank you for your cooperation." Short. No drama. Almost beautiful. "What now?" Anna asked. "Now, dinner. First, I'll chop the garlic. Then, you're talking about Boston, not as a receipt, but as an episode. Then, we'll decide who sleeps where. Tomorrow, Kelly's call. The day after tomorrow, our therapy. And if it doesn't work out, then we'll sign another receipt. Not an R, but a release. No show, no roles. With respect." The phone vibrated again. I didn't look. I stood over the board and cut the garlic, evenly in identical slices, as I know how. Neatly. At 09:30, we were called to sign the protocols. Keller testified, put up candles, removed tokens, mounted videos, worked for cash through Hudson Systems. The coordinator took a deal with the investigation. She confirmed that the bride's father allowed technical connections and special guests without badges. The jewelers suddenly started talking about external interference. The insurance company officially froze the payment. At noon, Levin was released. The PR dirt was removed from him. The logs confirmed that he had given access only to investigators. In parting, he told me, "R is not a name. This is a window in the process. If you close the window, R will disappear." In the evening, Anna and I sat down at the table, without phones. She laid out her truth briefly and directly. Boston is a kiss, no sequel. Yesterday's trip was a lie of silence, not a novel. My truth is also brief. The priority of work and the habit of living in logs, not in conversations. The two of us are not roles. We are people who can sign the boundaries. The boundaries turned out to be specific. Transparent travel. No motels without Wi-Fi. Work contacts are in the calendar, available to both. Home security, cameras and sensors with local backup, access lists. Weekly conversation, no phones, 30 minutes each. If we break up, release, break, civilized, without drama, and R. At 10:04 p.m., the last one arrived. From R, a photo of our kitchen table with a marker inscription on a copy of receipt. 2-14. Receipt estus. You accept this version. Release. You release it. Choose. I put that copy on the board and crossed out the word receipt. I wrote across it, record. A record, not a receipt. A record of facts, not someone else's scripts. Then I put the sheet in the shredder. The next morning, Kelly called. Hudson Systems was the gateway. The chain led to a fund linked to insurance risk consultants. The bride's father was charged with insurance fraud and unauthorized access through contractors. Keller went to the deal, handed over the diagram to other halls. Soto disappeared. On NJ Transit cameras, he disappears behind the turnstile. His role is no longer needed. Anna and I filed a separate police report. Threats, intrusion, carrier substitution. The case reached the DA. I don't know how the trial will end. I only know that this time we wrote the story, with a timeline, an analog, with living testimonies, not with thrown-in symbols. In the evening, for the first time in a long time, we ate plain pasta, with pepper, her little ritual. "Do you love me?" she asked without drama. "Yes," I answered, "and I trust you, as much as I trust the process we set for ourselves." "What if someone comes at night with a roll again?" We have boundaries now, and doors that open with us, not with the initial R. After dinner, I took out the last envelope we had written notes on and put a dot on it. S. Story. R. Master's roll. Filmed. Receipt. Destroyed. Release. Paused. We chose not receipt and not breakup. We chose conversation, daily, unspectacular labor that doesn't like cameras. It's not heroic. It's honest. Late at night, there was movement on the doorbell. I looked and saw the neighbor's cat sniffing the rug. I smiled, closed the stream, and returned to bed. Outside the window, New York played its endless roles. There were no roles in our bedroom. End.